Hello, this is Betsy Veldman from Papertrey Inc. with one last video for you with the Make It Market Party Pops kit. This video I want to show you how the lift the flap dies from the kit work and how you can use those to create a fun interactive element on your projects. The Make It Market Party Pops kit will be available on April 1st at 10 p.m. from papertrayinc.com, and it is a limited edition kit, so once it is sold out, it is gone for good. So I did a couple videos on the pop-up dies, and you know by now probably that there are three different main icons in the kit. There are the balloons, the candles, and the cupcakes. And besides the pop-up dies, there are also lift the flap dies for each of these three main icons. And the lift the flap dies are done a little bit differently in that they each have either a score line at the top or a partial cut at the top. And then they also each feature a little rounded tab, which can be used to, of course, lift the flap. Okay, so let's see these dies in action. We're going to create a card with the balloon lift the flap dies. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to die cut the balloons from a 4 by 5.5 inch panel of fresh snow linen cardstock. And it's super easy, no special tricks or anything needed for this. Just go ahead and put it in your die cut machine and run it through. Okay, so you can see here I ran that through my machine, and you can see where the partial cut at the top leaves the image intact in your background with just an element that then just lifts, creates a little flap that lifts up. There are also stamps included in the kit. There is a stamp for each of the three icons, the balloons, the candles, and the cupcake, which contain a sentiment that will fit perfectly underneath the flap. So next I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out the stamps that coordinate with the balloon. There is a single balloon image, which I'm going to stamp on top of that die cut flap. I'm going to use some inks that coordinate with the kit. This is limeade ice. And then some pure poppy. And that last balloon on the right I'm going to stamp with some aqua mist. Make sure I get all my red ink off here before I do that. The red is always the trickiest to get off, so we'll just make sure that's nice and clean. And then I'll go ahead and stamp that aqua mist balloon. Okay, and then on the little flap there is a little stamp included in the set that's a little round tab. It says lift here. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that onto the little flap, the tab. Okay, and then there are balloon strings, which I can stamp, and I'm going to do that. Just like that. And then I want to add a bunch more balloons to my background, so I'm going to stamp these strings a couple more times. Maybe right about there. And then again off to this side. And I want to make sure that when I stamp my balloons over here, they're not going to interfere with my little lift the flap tab, so I'm going to position these strings right about here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill in my background with a whole bunch more balloons. Just all pretty colors that coordinate with the kit. Have some orange zest. And they can just overlap the stamping. I like the way the balloons look when they're stamped overlapping each other. Kind of makes them look like clear balloons that the colors kind of mix together when they're in a bunch. Hibiscus burst. Okay, so I have all of my balloons stamped in the background, so then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take, there is a bow image that fits on the bottom of the strings, and I'm going to stamp that with some true black ink at the bottom of each balloon cluster. Oops. Here we go. And then I'm going to take a sentiment from the set as well and stamp that down at the bottom. I'm going to stamp the "It's Your Birthday" sentiment. Birthday, stamp that in some pure poppy. And the "It's Your", I'm going to stamp in some aqua mist. And then I can go ahead and
April
take
1st at 10 p.m.
from Papertrey.com,
and it is a limited edition kit,
so
once it is sold out,
a bunch of those
it is
kind of
gone
just
for
in the
good.
background under the balloons. Okay, so we have all of the little confetti and stars in the background stamped, really fun and festive and very birthday-ish. And now I want to take the sentiment that coordinates with the balloons, that has a sentiment built right into the shapes, and it fits perfectly under the flap, the balloon flap. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to stamp that on just a scrap of fresh snow linen cardstock that coordinates with the front of my front panel here. And it doesn't have to be the shape, it just has to be larger than the stamp itself. So it doesn't have to be full size, full size panel. You can just use a little scrap. And I'm going to ink that up with some orange zest. And I don't need to really worry about placement or centering it or anything. I'm just going to stamp that right on there. Okay, and then I'm going to add some adhesive to the edges. And then I'm going to add that to the back side of my stamped panel. And I'm going to kind of lift that flap up so that I can position this and center it right inside of that window, that cutout. Just like that. And before I completely adhere that, I'm going to push my flap back in and kind of bend it back so that that will stay in place right there. And then I can kind of take this tab and bend that out a little bit to make it stand out a little bit. Okay, so I can see I have a little excess cardstock along the side here from my piece that I put underneath, under the flap, so I'm just going to trim that off. Not a big deal. Okay, and then I can go ahead and adhere that finished panel to a card base, and here I have a 4 by 5.5 inch card base made from hibiscus burst cardstock. And I can just go ahead and adhere that. Really super fun, and you can see how then they can lift the flap and read the rest of the sentiment, and then it just kind of tucks back in there, and you can bend that little tab out if you want to. So I hope you enjoyed this peek into the Make It Market Party Pops kit and how the lift the flap dies from the kit work. Once again, the kit will be available from papertrayinc.com beginning on April 1st at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is a limited edition kit, so if you're interested, I suggest you head on over there and grab one for yourself. Thanks for watching. This has been Betsy Veldman for Papertrey Inc.